What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the boundlessly boisterous Dr. Disaster, and right about now, based on the player count that we saw on Steam for Assassin's Creed Shadows on its first day, I am willing to bet that Ubisoft is regretting their choices when it comes to how they put this game together.
Ever notice how you come across somebody once in a while that you shouldn't have with? That's me.
After their first full day, this game is sitting at a max concurrent player count on Steam of about 41,000. The game was released on Thursday, so the number is likely to go up during the weekend, but for context, Dragon Age the Veilguard also released on a Thursday, and they got about 68,000 on their launch day. Things aren't looking too swell for Assassin's Creed right about now, especially considering that Ubisoft needs massive numbers, as confirmed by the Ubisoft employees that we discussed the other day, who suggested that a moderate release would essentially end Ubisoft. In other words, they need something killer, like the release numbers for Monster Hunter Wilds, or hell, I'm sure they'd take Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 numbers, but instead, they are stuck with a fraction of Dragon Age the Veilguard.
Nick has got a knife.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
Alright, me hearties, make sure to smash the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and also, don't forget to support the channel by becoming a member. There are multiple exclusive projects you won't want to miss out on that will be available to members only, including audiobooks of multiple novels I've written. There will be more information soon, but it occurred to me that we can't just point out the things that we don't like in our culture, we have to push the things that we do like. So, if you're interested in supporting that sort of thing, consider becoming a member of the channel. In any case, let's discuss these numbers for Assassin's Creed Shadows. One of the first things that we need to talk about is the angle of attack that the journalist shills are using in order to make it sound as though the Steam numbers are very impressive for this game. As Games Radar here writes, not even one day after release, Assassin's Creed Shadows player count on Steam already is Valhalla beat. Well, I hate to break it to anyone rooting for this game to succeed, but actually, Valhalla wasn't released on Steam on day one. In fact, it came out over 2 years later on the platform, so that isn't exactly a strong comparison. It's a cop-out from someone who damn well knows better. These journalists, as always, are trying to spin things in order to make it sound as though the launch is impressive. They either know what they're doing or they're completely clueless. Either way, it isn't exactly a good look. And speaking of trying to spin things in order to make the game sound impressive, look here. The Assassin's Creed Twitter account made the announcement yesterday that the game has hit 1 million players. Doesn't that just sound impressive as hell? But the thing is, the language is very specifically not referring to the number of units sold. If you look closely, it says players and not copies sold. As an example of someone announcing an actual unit sold amount, take a look at Stalker 2 right after its release, explaining that they sold 1 million copies. This is Dragon Age the Veilguard all over again, announcing that their game had 1.5 million players. Not that I believe Assassin's Creed Shadows will end up with sales numbers as bad as Dragon Age, but the language is important here. Now, if I were to purchase a copy of Assassin's Creed Shadows, bring it home, play it on my PlayStation account, and then my wife logged in and played it on her account, that is 2 players. but it's only 1 unit sold. Not to mention, when they mention players, that counts people who use subscription services like Ubisoft Plus, and those folks have access to the game for free, and they still count as players. What I want to know is when they hit 1 million units sold. If we don't get that announcement in the next day or so, that will be a very bad look for them, because this game needs to sell a shitload of games at full price. Monster Hunter Wilds hit 7 million units sold right at launch. Obviously, Shadows isn't going to come anywhere near those kinds of numbers, but they should at least hit Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 numbers. That game announced that they sold 1 million copies within its first day or so of being released, and notice how in this announcement here, once again, they specify copies sold. And then they announced 2 million copies sold within 2 weeks. For Kingdom Come, that was pretty damn good, considering their reported budget was less than $50 million. But for Shadows, this wouldn't be good enough at all. Now, some people have flipped a lid when I suggested in the past that 2 or 3 million copies would be a flop for a game like Shadows, pointing out that would potentially exceed the amount sold by Valhalla at launch. But context is important. The reported budget for Valhalla was somewhere in the ballpark of $150 to $200 million. Assassin's Creed Shadows supposedly has a budget somewhere in the neighborhood of Star Wars Outlaws, which cost $250 million before even factoring in marketing. After marketing, Shadows will have cost the studio going on $400 million. We have broken down the math here several times on this channel, but at that budget, the game would need to sell around 7 million units at full price to break even. So, when Valhalla sold a couple million copies or so in its first month, needing only around 3 million to break even, that wasn't too bad. The game continued to sell really well due to word of mouth and the general popularity level of the franchise. But I suspect that Shadows doesn't have the same level of IP advantage that Valhalla had, despite costing so much damn money to make. These days, the atmosphere in gaming is just much different than it was 5 years ago or so when Valhalla came out. Games that push progressive, shit-lib crap have seen significant dips in interest. I suspect that the release of Shadows will be something akin to Dragon Age the Veilguard, in the sense that a bunch of cultural auto-intake zombies will come out and buy it in its first few days because it's an Assassin's Creed game, but afterward, the game will hit a brick wall. Dragon Age was that way. They had big sales right away, predictably, but then it just stopped. And those initial numbers that they got were nowhere near enough to support the bloated budget. The cost of these games has gotten completely out of control. It's being reported that the credits for Assassin's Creed Shadows is freaking 2 hours long. That is wild, and speaks to how many people are touching these massive games now. And considering how buggy the game looks, it is pretty damn hard to justify these numbers. I mean, what in the bloody hell was the company spending the money on? A bunch of executives and HR people sending emails and cultivating a shit ton of toxic positivity, no doubt. In any event, the weekend is upon us now, and the true test of this game's strength is coming up. The Ubisoft defenders keep suggesting to me that Assassin's Creed is a console franchise and not a Steam franchise, but considering that Steam players dwarf Xbox and PlayStation players combined, and considering how many copies Ubisoft needs to sell, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Ubisoft really needs these Steam numbers here to be much higher. But I'm gonna leave it there. What do you expect these Steam numbers for Shadows to top out at this weekend? Drop your thoughts and your mockery of Ubisoft into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.